Hi everyone, greetings from Mentormatics. My name is Rini Thomas and I am really pleased to be your instructor for this course. Let me first give a brief introduction about myself. As a student, you might want to know who I am and whether I am qualified enough to teach you this course. Regarding my educational background, I have a Bachelor of Engineering degree in Computer Science. And regarding my professional experience, I have around 17 plus years of professional experience working in many multinational companies in India and abroad. I have worked on many real world applications and projects and worked mainly on technologies like C Sharp, Microsoft ASP.NET, and Node.js as backend, and HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Angular, and React as frontend. Also, I have worked as a corporate trainer, training many freshers after they have been hired and making them job ready. Okay, that's all about me. Let me see you all in the coming lectures. Thank you. Welcome to our C Sharp Fundamental course for beginners. In this video, we will give you a quick overview of what you can expect to learn and achieve by taking this course. C Sharp is a popular programming language used to build Windows desktop applications, web applications, mobile applications, games, and more. In this course, you will learn the fundamentals of C# programming from scratch, even if you have no prior programming experience. The course is designed to be hands-on and interactive, with plenty of coding exercises and projects to help you apply what you learn. The end result of all this is you become skilled in C# language quicker than you normally would via a more traditional approach. You will also learn how to think like a programmer. If any of those terms make no sense to you right now, they will by the end of this course. The ideal student for this course is someone who wants to learn how to program in C Sharp. No previous programming experience is required. Overall, this C Sharp fundamental course should give you a solid foundation in the language with plenty of opportunities to practice writing code and building applications. Whether you are new to programming or just new to C Sharp, this course should help you get started on your journey towards becoming a skilled developer. Let me quickly give you an overview of what you're going to learn and how I have structured this course. In the first section, I am going to talk about fundamentals of C Sharp and .NET. One of the questions that a lot of beginners ask is what is the difference between C Sharp and .NET? So I'm going to cover that. I'm also going to talk about CLR, assemblies, namespaces, and stuff like that. Then over the next two sections, I'm going to talk about types and we will talk about primitive types and non-primitive types. Then I will talk about the difference between value types and reference types. Then on the next section, I will talk about control flow using conditional statements. You're going to start writing simple C# programs after that. In every section, you're going to learn something new about C# and you get to write more interesting programs. Then I will show you how to use arrays and lists. Then we will learn how to work with primitive types and expressions. Then we will have a section on working with text and datetime objects. Then we will discuss about exception handling. And finally, I'm going to conclude this course with a section on debugging. So I'm going to use some of the tools we have for that. So when you have bugs in your code, you know how to find them and get rid of them. I'm also going to talk about some good programming practices that help you write better and more reliable code. So we have a lot to cover and let's get started. Today, we are going to start our journey by learning about variables and constants. Let's start by two definitions. What is a variable? A variable is a name that we give to a storage location in memory where we can store a value. And what is a constant? A constant is any immutable value. That is a value that we know at compile time and that value cannot change throughout the life of the application. Why do we need constants? The reason for that is to create safety in our application. Imagine you're creating an application that involves some mathematical computation around circles. We have this number called pi, which is 3.14, and we use that to calculate the area of a circle. That number should always be the same. We don't want to accidentally change that in our program. If we accidentally change that, everything is going to blow up in terms of the result that program produces. So we declare the number as a constant, and this way we create safety in our application. In C Sharp, to declare a variable, we start with the type, followed by an identifier, and finally a semicolon. Here int represents an integer, which is a number between minus 2 billion and plus 2 billion. Note that C Sharp is a case-sensitive language, and which means in this case, these two identifiers are different. These two identifiers are different. One starts with a lowercase, then another one with an uppercase. When declaring a variable, we can optionally assign it a value, like what you see here. You don't have to, but there is one thing you need to know about variables, and that is you cannot use a variable unless you initialize it. So let's say if I declare this number here and I decide to display it in the console, my application will not be compiled. I have to assign a value before I can use it, or before even if I can read it. I will show you that later when we jump to coding. To declare a constant, we start with the keyword const. Next, we have the data type and an identifier. And here we have to initialize it with some value. We cannot define a constant without setting its value. There are a few things you need to know about identifiers. First one, an identifier cannot start with a number. See here. You cannot start having an identifier like this once you see here. Instead, you need to replace this one with the word one. Also, an identifier cannot include white space. So you cannot have an identifier like first space name. It has to be one word, and an identifier should not be a reserved keyword like that you saw earlier. If you are desperate to use a word that coincidentally clashes with one of the C# keywords, you can prefix it with the @ sign. And finally, as a recommendation, always use meaningful names. For example, avoid a name like F and instead use first name. This way, your code will be more readable, more maintainable, and cleaner, and everybody will understand that. In terms of naming conventions, here are three popular naming conventions that have been around in the C language family. We have got camel case, Pascal case, and Hungarian notation. With camel case, as you see, I have bolded here the first letter of the first word, which is lowercase, and the first letter of every word after that starts with an uppercase. With Pascal case, the first letter of every word will be an uppercase. With Hungarian notation, we prefix the name of the variable with the data type it uses. So here str represents a string. Hungarian notation is not used in C Sharp, and I have noticed programmers coming from from C or C++ background use that in their code. If you are one of them, I highly recommend you not to use Hungarian notation because C Sharp developers are not used to that and they don't like to see Hungarian notation in their code. It makes your code look a little bit ugly. So in C Sharp to name your local variables, use camel case. So as you see here, the first letter of the first word is lowercase, and if we had more words here in the identifier, the first letter of every other word has to be uppercase. For constants, you can use Pascal case. See here. So here you see I have got a constant here, constant integer, and the first letter of the word is uppercase. Okay, that's for this lecture. I hope you understood all the concepts explained here and you enjoyed this lecture, and thank you for watching.